Ever wondered how to talk about things that existed in the past or habits you used to have? Today, we're unlocking two key structures for that. There was/were and used to.
All right, let's get into it. Here's our roadmap for talking about the past. We're going to focus on two big blocks. First, there was and were, and then we'll jump right into used to.
Let's kick things off with Block A. There was and were. So, you know how we use there is and there are to talk about what exists right now, right? Well, there was and there were are simply their past tense forms. How we say había or hubo. It's as simple as that. This slide shows that direct connection between the present and past perfectly. There is becomes there was, and there are becomes there were. It's a really simple shift to start talking about things that have already happened.
So, how do we know when to use was and when to use were? The key is the noun. For singular countable nouns and for uncountable nouns, we always use there was. And for plural countable nouns, we use there were.
Okay, let's see it in action with affirmative sentences. Here's the first example. There was a dog. We use was because dog is a singular noun.
Now, take a look at this one. There were flowers. We switch to were because flowers is plural. And what about something like this? There was some water. Water is an uncountable noun, so we go right back to using was. Let's move on to the negative form now, which is just as simple. There wasn't a cat. You just add int to was. And the same idea applies to plurals. There weren't books. And for our uncountable example, there wasn't any music. Again, music is uncountable, so we use wasn't.
And finally, how do we ask a question? Well, we simply flip the word order. Instead of there was, it becomes was there a bank?
We do the exact same reversal for plurals. Were there curtains? And with our uncountable noun, we put was at the beginning again. Was there any food? See? The rules are consistent across all forms. All right, now that we've mastered there was were, let's move on to our second block, used to.
So what is used to? It's a great little expression we use for talking about past habits or routines that are no longer true. It's our English version of solinar.
Let's look at a couple of examples to make it clearer. I used to read a lot of books when I was a child, which implies that maybe I don't read as much anymore. Or, I used to play tennis when I was a teenager, but now I'm too busy.
And how do we form sentences with used to? It's pretty easy. For affirmative sentences, it's subject plus used to plus the verb. For negatives, we use the helper didn't used to. And for questions, we start with did.
Now let's see how this looks when we conjugate it with the different pronouns.
And here's the best part about used to. It doesn't change. It doesn't matter if it's I, you, he, or they, the form is always the same. That makes it super easy to use.
Now there is one important rule we need to remember with used to.
You can't use used to in the present tense. It's a really common mistake to say, I used to go to the gym. Instead, to talk about present habits, you have to use the simple present with an adverb and say something like, I usually go to the gym.
Here are a couple more examples of the correct way to talk about habits in the present. I usually go to the gym 3 times a week, and we usually have lunch at our grandparents' house every Sunday. See the difference? All right, time to put what we've learned into practice with some transformation exercises.
Let's start. The sentence is, there was a dog. How would you change it to a negative and a question? Take a second to think about it. Ready? The negative is, there wasn't a dog, and the question is, was there a dog?
Let's do the next one. There were flowers. How do we change this one? Go ahead and try it.
The negative is, there weren't flowers, and the question is, were there flowers?
And the last one, she used to play tennis. How do you transform this one? Remember the rules for used to.
The negative is, she didn't used to play tennis, and the question is, did she used to play tennis? Great job.
So the next time you talk about the past, think about whether you're describing something that simply was there or something you used to do. Choosing the right structure will make your English sound so much more natural. And that's a wrap for this breakdown.